Welcome back to another day of science. We got started yesterday into lesson 1 where we were talking about the biosphere, all the living things, and then we moved on to how they interact with each other in their environment, and we went from an individual to a population. Note a population is the same species, but a group of them. Then we took all those populations together, that gave us a community. Then we took all the non-living parts of the environment and added that in there, that gave us the ecosystem. Today we're going to talk about some of those living and non-living factors that make up this ecosystem and how things survive in it. Okay, so continuing on with lesson 1, trying to say how are they all connected. It says, although the organisms living in a community may differ in many ways, they all depend on their environment to meet their needs. Abiotic factors are the non-living parts of an ecosystem. So number 1, I'm over here, guys. If you know your root words that we taught you yesterday, you had ecology, the study of the interaction of life. So bio means life, guys. So I put an A in front of it. A sometimes can mean the word without. So this is without life factors. So the non-living parts of my environment. What are they? Last sentence here. Water, sunlight, temperature, soil, and air are all important abiotic factors that organisms depend on. Now we're going to go through those things in paragraphs here to say why is air, why is temperature, why is sunlight important. All living things need some water to survive. That's because many important chemical processes that take place in organisms need water. Therefore, number 3, the amount of water in an ecosystem can limit the number of organisms it can support. If there isn't enough water for all the organisms in ecosystems, some will die. So this is going to give us the amount of water can decide how many live. I always think of sometimes watching those shows as the water holes sink in the African savannas, right? And now you know that a zebra's coming to drink that water and a crocodile's going to come flying out of that water and try to get a zebra or name the animal that's going to go after. And you're always like, zebras, why would you go near the water? Go somewhere else. There's no choice, guys. They need water. The amount is limited, and so you take the chance and hope you can get your drink of water without getting caught. But you know, it's a life system that we need. Continuing on, because plants need sunlight for photosynthesis, sunlight is also important to all living things. Most organisms cannot make their own food by photosynthesis. They depend either directly or indirectly on plants. That's number 5. We're depending directly or indirectly. If I eat the plant, I'm depending directly on it. If I eat an animal that ate the plant, I'm depending indirectly on it. So guys, that's the difference depending on how we get it. I eat a cow, that's getting my energy indirectly through the plant because the cow ate it first. The amount of sunlight an area receives determines the kind of plants that grow there. That in turn determines the other organisms that live there. Okay? So what they're getting at here is as you move farther north, you get the crazier the day and night cycle are. So Alaska is known as the state of the midnight sun because in the summer it's literally still light out at midnight if you're far enough north. And in the winter it's dark almost the whole time because the sun is down farther in the south, guys. And so obviously that's going to impact the plants that can survive there. That in turn is going to impact the animals that can live there if there's not enough plants. Next paragraph, most organisms also need air as a source of oxygen. So I put here, organisms need oxygen. We learned that in last chapter as we were talking the difference between photosynthesis and cellular respiration. Your own body cannot survive without oxygen for more than a few minutes. Organisms that live in water, such as fish, use oxygen that is dissolved in the water. Plants need another gas found in the air, carbon dioxide, to carry on the process of photosynthesis. So guys, organisms need oxygen. Even if you're in the water, obviously a fish can take the oxygen that's dissolved in the water out of it. So oxygen is obviously really important. They also mentioned carbon dioxide for it, but that's why air is such an important one. The temperature of an area also helps determine which organisms live there. Each organism can live only in a particular temperature range. Your own body would not survive long without some protection in freezing temperatures, but the polar bear is at home in those temperatures. So now you have your next one that they're going through, and that's a temperature range. What they're saying is, can I survive in the winter? Yes, if I'm bundled up. Could I stand outside in the winter and live for days on end? outside? No, I will definitely freeze to death. My body temperature will plummet too much and I'll die. And so animals can only survive, and plants the same thing, in certain temperatures. Okay, so those are all explanations of these abiotic factors. Let's move on to the last one. These are biotic factors, which would be life factors. Biotic factors are living organisms in the ecosystem. So anything that has life is a biotic factor. Many biotic factors are too tiny to be seen. So here we go over our examples of biotic factors that are too tiny to be seen. They include the billions of bacteria that are found in soil that helps break down the soil. It includes the microscopic mites that live on your skin. So there's your unpleasant thought for the day, the mites that eat your dead skin cells, the algae that fill up the ocean, and the protists that live in your digestive tract. And they wrote the digestive system of cattle. Cattle certainly have protists, so do we. We have protists that live in our digestive system as well that helps us break things down. So guys, if it has life, it's a biotic factor that can help us. Lots of these things, like when I look at bacteria, I always think bad. No, bacteria can be good, guys, especially bacteria in the soil. There's bacteria in my body. Some of that can be good. Bacteria gets out of control in my body. It can make me sick. So when we talk about biotic factors, they can be good or they can be bad. Let's finish it up. Biotic and abiotic factors shape the communities that live in an ecosystem. For example, the Arctic environment is cold and windy. Most of the fresh water is frozen all year. The soil is frozen too. During the winter months, there is little or no daylight. How do these factors affect organisms that live there? Going on to number 9 in your notes, all organisms in a particular ecosystem have adaptations to help them survive there. An adaptation, number 10, is a characteristic that helps the organism live and reproduce. So that's the job of the definition of an adaptation. We got that way back in chapter 1 or 2. Okay, now they'll give you an example. Polar bears have thick fur to help keep their body warm and from escaping into the environment. So you want to try to insulate your body. They have thick fur that does that. We use that with jackets and hats, don't we? We insulate our body. They have black skin, which absorbs sunlight to warm the animal. Polar bears also have strong claws to help them walk on the ice and to capture animals for food. Their fur, which looks white, helps camouflage them in the snow. So then I wrote down all the adaptations, guys. So thick fur to keep it warm, black skin absorbs sunlight, so you know that the darker the color, the more sunlight it absorbs. So it's kind of interesting because if we'd say what color is a polar bear, most of us would say that it's white. But it's interesting because it actually underneath what they call white fur, and guys, notice that how they said that. It says their fur which looks white. The reason they say it looks white is the pigment white is actually not found in the fur. The fur hairs are actually hollow, and so it reflects the light in the surroundings, and that's why it looks white with it. But underneath the white fur is black skin to absorb it to keep it warm. It obviously is walking on frozen things, and then it has fur to look white to camouflage it with the snow. Now it doesn't need to be camouflaged for protection, guys. It needs to be camouflaged so it can sneak up on things and it doesn't get picked out right away from those things. And so we'll talk a lot about in chapters coming up on how some of these animals survive with the things. You can see different animals, like I always think of a zebra, not really good at camouflage, but what a zebra's camouflage is, guys, is it camouflages in with each other. These lines blur to animals, and so I look at this and I don't see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different zebras, guys. I see, if I'm an animal, sometimes just one big huge zebra because I can't tell the distinction between them with their eyesight. That's why when lions start chasing zebras, he always catches the one that breaks away from the pack. Then it's easy to pick it out. All right, back where we were, let's finish up the last paragraph. The climate of the Arctic makes it difficult for trees and large plants to grow there. The plants that do grow in the Arctic are small. They are adapted to grow low to the ground and avoid damage from the strong winds. They need little sunlight for photosynthesis. So I just wrote down plants also have adaptations to grow in the Arctic system. You're not going to have big trees up here, guys. There's not enough water. It's frozen too much. There's not enough sunlight. They can't support it. But you'll get a lot of little shrub bushes and little grasses that'll pop up in the spring. Their summer is short, guys, but it'll grow quickly, and when all this snow melts and you get your little season, and then the animals will learn to live off of that. So what went into today, guys, is the factors and the adaptations that allow them to survive in these different biomes. God in his genius made sure animals could survive. All right, that brings us to lesson 1, so you have a worksheet along with it. Blessings on it.